I said, phew. And he said, I'll never do that again. I promise I'll never, ever do that again. And he went his way and I went mine. And 3 weeks later, he called me or texted. Because 21-year-olds don't call, they text. At 3 a.m. and said, I need help. I did it again. I need that thing called PEP, post-exposure prophylactic. I need the pills that you take after you put yourself at risk for HIV that can maybe stop the virus from establishing a hole in your immune system. And I wrote him back why. He said, because I didn't use the condom again. Because we don't make sense. Especially when we leave home and we're running away, having taken our birthright. We're on the road to the unexplored self, the young adult that we are raising to send out in the world to discover their unexplored self. We don't make sense. We are contradictions. We say one thing, we do another. We say, I'll never do that again, and then we do it again. We tell ourselves the truth, but not the whole truth. What could I say to Dalton to help him understand his value, his worth, and the importance of keeping himself alive? Then I thought, what would my mother say to him? And then I thought, better yet, what would all the mothers say to him? There is a generation of young adults, some that I'll speak to tomorrow, but they're in this world, they're in this country, who were born into a world where AIDS already existed. They don't know the world we did. They don't know a world without AIDS, and worse, because they live in Florida, an abstinence-only education state, they don't know how to protect themselves from it. So how can I help Dalton and the others, your kids, your children, your grandchildren? What can I say that will be the thing that will make the difference? I think, in fact, the way to help them is with you. I'm so honored to be here tonight, especially to speak to those of you who are the Zadies and the Bubbies, because you remember. We can measure a generation in a number of ways. One way is to say that once upon a time, there was a world before HIV. Or to say there are people in the world that never knew that. But here's another way that I like to measure time, the passage of time and a generation. There are those of us, some in this room tonight, those of us who walk this earth, who have lived 25, 27, 30 years after having buried their son and their daughter, their hairdresser, their nephew, their best friend, their co-worker to AIDS. And so what I want to do is share with you their response, what they might say if they could speak to Dalton or the others through me. So I want to share with you, this is something I wrote a few years ago. It's one of the books I wrote called My Invisible Kingdom. And I just want to give you a piece of what it is that used to happen years ago. Every so often I would sit and have lunch with a mother who lost her son or daughter to AIDS, 1988, 1989, 1991. It's something that I do for my friends who died to take care of their parents in a small way, reminding them who their children were in the world. Telling them what important things they may have never known about their sons and daughters. I had a facilitator of an HIV support group who once said to me, when your friends die of AIDS and you can't take care of them anymore, here's what you do. Take care of their parents. So the mothers and I would sit, and they would sit across the table from me, and they'd lean in towards me, and they'd put their hands on top of my hands. And they'd watch me chew my food, as if they were somehow nourished by seeing me eat, savoring the reflection, indirectly feeding their own child one last time. And they look into my eyes, and we offer up memories, and we make each other cry. With tears as fresh as they were at the funeral, they proved to me that I too will not be forgotten. And one mother used to say, I'll never forget how she said it, Bobby, his father and I finally bought the boat we'd been saving up for. And we're going to call it Bobby's Dream. He was my special one, she would say. He was my special one. She told me that none of his friends call anymore, and I wish they would, she said, so that I could say to them, tell me about Bobby. I've run out of memories. One said to me almost apologetically in a synagogue in Michigan, in West Bloomfield, I shouldn't be talking so much about him. I shouldn't be crying. And I asked her why. She said, because my husband and all the other children say, it's enough with the tears, Mom. It's been so many years. And still another, Sally, who just died this past summer at the age of 96, said, we were a step upon his destiny. We rode with him to glory. So I'd sit with them, these mothers, these bubbies, and they feed me with the pictures of the grandchildren, the nieces and the nephews and the babies that were named for their sons and for their daughters. And their faces would light up and there would be joy at the table alongside of the sorrow. And in the very same conversation, in the very same sentence, they would portray the ways in which they had made room for their grief alongside their joys. The mothers who lost their sons to AIDS would sit across the table from me and they'd show me their tears and they'd show me their joys. They had made room for both. What would they say to Dalton? What could they say to your teenagers who didn't live through the epidemic, who didn't see what it was like to wipe the forehead of a dying person who needed comfort, who didn't know what it felt like to lie at the funeral and say, oh no, he died of liver cancer, not AIDS. But you remember, you do. What would you say to Dalton? What would you say to the others? What would you have me say to them? I think you would have me say what I said to Dalton when he came back from the test counselor's office. The part of our conversation that meant the most to me, when he bit into the blueberry muffin, and he said, it's blueberry. It's so delicious. When he said, why are you being so nice to me? I suspect that we have created a generation of young adults who are surprised by kindness, who don't understand it when we're being so nice to them, because somewhere along the lines, not because we made a mistake, but they didn't get the message that they are loved unconditionally, that they are so incredibly lovable, that they belong, that there's a room for them, a place at every table, that if they were a stranger at your door, that you would invite them in, that they are enough. That is what he will say. And that is what I said to Dalton. And that is what we'll say to yours, your child, your grandchild tomorrow, and I ask you to invite them, if they come to hear me speak tomorrow. That there are three fundamental beliefs that we, all of us, including them, once upon a time believed when we were little, when our pockets were filled with pennies and promises, and every day was as wide as the circle of hands that held us. We believed that we were loved. We believed that we belonged in this world, and we believed because we loved and we belonged that we must be enough. Must speak the Daino, I'm enough. That I have the stuff of God in me. God is in this place and I did not even know it. And then they get older and they get the birthright, or in Jacob's case, they steal it. And they set out to meet the unexplored self, driver's ed, college entrance essays, sex, and all that comes with it. And are they prepared for life's faithful aches? And when they lie their head down at night, do they hear God talking to them? And what does God say? And do they know that God is present in his seeming absence? And do they believe that God is in this place? And do they hold on to that? Or, no, are their words, are their pockets filled with other words, right? Instead of promises and daydreams, but words that haunt them. And can we teach them that God is still there? from what we live through, what we remember, that their lives are valuable, that we live through them, that they are loved and they belong and they are enough. This is World AIDS Week, the first week of December. It's also the anniversary of my HIV infection 29 years ago this week. So in honor of World AIDS Week and in honor of my anniversary, I just want to share with you a few memories of some of my friends who died of AIDS, and perhaps they would have something to say to Dalton and yours. Stephen was the first of my 133 friends to die. He was only one day older than me. Every year on my birthday, his mother sends me a birthday card. And every year on Mother's Day, I still call her. Dennis gave all his possessions away in his final days. I got his high school ring. Mark and I played American Top 40 trivia in his bedroom as he lay dying, while his parents from Oklahoma sat in the next room just too horrified to come in. Adrian's KS lesions, Kaposi sarcoma, were everywhere on his face. The only part of his face that was not covered was his smile, and he said this quote, "I've always believed that a rosebud is God's promise." Jennifer was my best friend. She was a nice Jewish girl from Westchester, Scarsdale High School. And at her funeral, as a soft wind stirred and a willow branch tapped me on the shoulder, I remembered her saying to me before she died, "Of course there's more. Of course there's more after we die. Where else would music go?" And Michael said, "I'm not dying until I find out who wins the Oscar for Best Picture." And that year, it was Schindler's List. Philip would get down on his knees every time he would hug me, as if to say, "Never reach for love. Let love reach for you." And Billy would share his umbrella with me on rainy days, and Anna Marie was always smiling when she called me sunshine. And the last time I saw Richie in the hospital, he said, "Go back to dance class." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because you can, Scotty. Dance because you can." And John Fletcher Harris, in his final days, said, "Stand up. Let your leaves fall all around you. With bare branches, expose yourself to the sun. Expose yourself to God." Jacob was alone. He stole the birthright. He went off to meet his future. And he dreamed of angels. And he woke up and he said, "I did not know God was in this place." Always present even in his seeming absence. It is our job to remind the next generation that we are bringing up that God is always present in the way we offer a blueberry muffin, in the way we sit when they're scared, in the moments we look at their eyes and we say, "I'm here because you are loved. I'm here because you belong. And I'm here to remind you, you are enough." Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Wow. Wow, it was incredible. You see, you told us that we meet God, we discover God when we're in a low place in our life, and it's definitely true. But normally the way we hear God's message is by meeting God's messengers, or angels as the Bible often calls them. So Scott, thank you for being such a messenger of God, an angel to so many people. And this is our task in life, really, to be God's messengers for people around us who need our support and help. Thank you again for your incredible message to all of us.